The rain had been pouring for so long that the whole city looked like it was melting into shimmering puddles of silver. Inside a tiny bakery fighting to stay warm, a tired, thin man stood at the counter, clutching a few wrinkled notes with trembling hands. His cotton shirt was soaked through, his shoes squished with every step, and on his face was the kind of exhaustion that comes from losing one battle after another. He stared at the display. Case rows of perfect cakes with bright colors, silky cream and chocolate glistening under the lights. For a moment, he just breathed in, as if smelling hope. But when the baker told him the price, his shoulders slumped. It was more money than he'd earned in 2 days, more than he could pay without skipping meals for the week. He swallowed, his voice cracking as he leaned closer. What he whispered was so faint it nearly disappeared under the low hum of the refrigerator, but its meaning was heavy enough to break anyone's heart. Do you have an expired cake for my daughter? He wasn't begging for a discount. He wasn't asking for pity. He was asking for something no parent should ever have to ask for anything, even imperfect. To make his little girl feel celebrated on her birthday. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the idea that a small act can change someone's life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. The baker froze, unsure what to say. As the father's fragile voice slowly faded into the sound of the rain at the back of the bakery, unnoticed by everyone, stood a man who seemed carved out of the dim light. Tall, sharply dressed, his dark coat drew a stark line against the bakery's warm glow. He stood perfectly still, almost blending into the shadowed corner as he quietly watched the scene unfold. His name was Ibrahim Malika, millionaire real estate mogul, known for buying skyscrapers and winning negotiations, but rarely known for anything human. The world saw power, success, and influence. No one saw the hollow spaces inside him. No one knew that his late wife had loved birthdays so much that she baked her own cakes every year. No one knew he still kept her handwritten recipe cards tucked in a drawer he couldn't bear to open. And no one knew he had once been the man counting coins, choosing between rent and food, before success finally found him. Something in the father's trembling voice slipped straight through the armor Ibrahim had worn for years. The father stood frozen, shoulders tight with embarrassment, bracing for rejection. In his mind, he already saw himself walking home empty. He pictured his daughter pretending not to be disappointed, trying to smile even when her eyes gave away the hurt. He had sold his old work tools last month just to buy her school shoes. Life had beaten him down again and again, yet he never stopped trying. His daughter, little Noor, never complained, not once. But today was different. Today she turned 7, and all she wanted was a cake with pink frosting. Just a small one. Just a simple one. But sometimes dreams have a cruel way of slipping through the fingers of those who can't afford them. The baker finally shook, his head not cruelly, but gently explaining that expired cakes were tossed every evening, and there were none left. The father whispered a soft thank you, bowed his head, and started toward the door. His shoulders slumped, his feet dragging, as if the weight of every disappointment he'd ever faced clung to him. But just as he reached the threshold, a hand rested lightly on his shoulder. Startled, he flinched, glancing up at the stranger who looked like he had stepped out of a magazine shop coat, polished shoes, and an air of wealth that seemed untouchable. The man Ibrahim moved past him quietly to the counter. He spoke to the baker, firm yet calm, and the baker's eyes widened in surprise. He nodded repeatedly, stealing glances at the father, unsure what was about to happen. The father froze, unsure if he should linger or retreat into the rain. Then Ibrahim turned toward him. His voice was steady, warm, and human, not pitying, just understanding. No father should feel ashamed for trying. No child's birthday should pass without joy. He told the baker to make the most beautiful cake the shop could craft. Soft pink frosting, tiny, delicate flowers, creamy swirls, decorated with every bit of care. And then he did something no one expected. He bought not one, but 2 cakes, one for little Noor, and one to take to the children's ward at the local hospital, in honor of his late wife, who had always loved giving. The father stood there, mouth dry, eyes wide, unable to speak. His throat tightened, and for a long moment, the rain outside seemed to fade, leaving only the warmth of an unexpected kindness that could change everything. His throat tightened, and his eyes welled up with tears he tried to hide. He shook his head, whispering that he couldn't possibly accept something so expensive. But Ibrahim only smiled, a calm, knowing smile. "Kindness doesn't need repayment," he said. "Sometimes life hands us miracles through strangers." When the baker finally handed over the box, tied with a perfect ribbon, the father held it as if it were glowing with light. Ibrahim slipped a small envelope into his hand before leaving, instructing him not to open it until he got home. Outside, the rain had softened to a gentle drizzle, as if the sky itself had paused to witness what was happening. The father walked faster than he had come, his heart pounding not from fatigue, but from a deep, soaring gratitude. When he entered their small, dimly lit home, little Noor came running barefoot. Her face lit up like a festival lantern when she saw the cake. She gasped, covered her mouth, and her tiny feet danced in pure excitement. The father watched her, and in that moment, every failure, every ache, every heavy burden melted away. Her laughter filled the room, washing away weeks of struggle in a single, shining moment. Later, after Noor blew out the candles, the father remembered the envelope. Hands trembling, he opened it. Inside was not money, though he had feared and hoped for that. It was a job offer, stable salary, health benefits, dignity, a real chance to rebuild his life. Tucked alongside was a simple, handwritten note: "A good father deserves good opportunities." For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to believe that life could truly turn around, one small act of kindness at a time.